Hey everyone, it's been a while, but welcome back to Hunterville. In today's episode we're going to be reworking the city's main train station. This episode started off with a different attempt at this, where I kind of used the existing elevated metro tracks and modified that around and modified some of the other station platforms and things. But then after doing that, I was sort of going through, as you do, trying to tidy up all my asset subscriptions because I had like 3,000 at that point. My computer started running slow, so I knew it was time to. And then following that, I kind of decided that I wanted to rework the train station because I felt like the way that the tracks were going didn't make much sense for a terminus station, which then had the tracks going through other parts of the city. So I decided to rework that, and that meant moving where the train line goes, which in turn ended up me deleting like a massive chunk of the city, which we're gonna fill out over the next like 5 episodes, including this one. Anyway, here we've started off building the train station building, and I was trying to keep it somewhat similar to the existing train station building and use mostly of the same assets from the Malmo Central Station pack. But use some different platforms as I wanted to sort of have a bit more flexibility over that than using the sort of like 8 platform thing with a cover over it that kind of didn't leave me with many options, and just sort of do my own thing with the station shelters. I also wanted to take some inspiration from Wellington Central Station in Wellington, New Zealand. The layout of this station and the old station are kind of somewhat resemble that, but I just kind of wanted to do that and use brick. I mean, the front like facade and everything's quite different between Wellington train station and what I'm actually building here in City Skylines, but I think it's just sort of an inspiration. It's not like it has to be like for like or anything, and I think it'd just be really not a fun time to try and build something like that exactly, because it would require a lot of procedural objects or something like that. And I also just sort of enjoy making my city have its own style and not exactly following a real city like for like. Obviously there's going to be like buildings that I use here that are taken from Wellington or Auckland or other cities in New Zealand. Even at some stage I'm going to probably put the Auckland Sky Tower somewhere in the downtown, but anyways, this random little piece of engineering that I'm creating here is going to be like some sort of roof with a skylight over it, just to sort of shelter people that are walking around trying to get to the right platform and stuff. And this was sort of based off something at Wellington train station, but I kind of just did my own take on it and made it look as if it were a much more modern edition than what's in Wellington station. But yeah, this was a little bit complicated because it required using like these steel beams and a lot of copying, pasting, and then filling that with glass later. But I think I'm pretty happy with how this all ended up turning out in the end. But it took a while to get there. And yeah, one other thing I should mention before I forget about it is that I shifted a couple of city blocks like 4 tiles away from the train station, partly so I could actually fit this design into the city without too much hassle, and also just because it lines up better with the existing grid, which was like 11 by some other number that's not important because it's that 11 tile distance that I cared about that much, and that left like a gap near the little square and along the side of that big construction site opposite the train station, so I'll have to fill that out later, which I think I do in the next episode. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that in case you see like some weird thing where like the before and after shots in the cinematic don't line up. They do, it's just the buildings don't line up with where they used to be. Yeah, I just had thought while talking over this commentary that I could have actually put a wall in between like the train side of the shelter, like the platform side, and the building somewhere, like along where this end of the slope comes down or something, just to make it sort of more of a interior space rather than like exterior space where people have to like battle with the cold in winter or something. Anyway, here I was just like coloring these concrete things and making like panels out of them along here, just because it didn't really make much sense to put glass in these ones as well. But yeah, I think we actually spent quite a lot of time in this time lapse just working on this one shelter thing, which is maybe a bit excessive now that I think about it, having edited this a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, if for some reason watching this at like 6 times speed isn't enough for you, then I did make another channel last year, which is just an experiment, where I was going to post sort of the real speed of this, or like sped up 3 times something rather than 6, and it's just an experiment that I'm trying, and I'll upload the footage for this episode onto there as well. And yeah, here we're just finally going through and putting in some station shelters. I think I convert these to procedural objects and color them or something. I can't quite remember now because it was actually like a year ago that I filmed this footage, but yeah, here's the first part of this episode, and you can see the big change that's occurred in the city between what was previously there and what's here now. So now we're moving on to the next section of the video, and here I've started by creating this little side street that I was thinking would be some sort of like bus stop thing, perhaps for like intercity buses going to nearby towns and cities. But I'm now kind of questioning that, and I might leave this road here, but I'm not sure. I mean, I built this a long time ago. As I alluded to before those set of cinematics, I filmed this in like July or June last year, so it's been a long time since I built this, and I'm just wondering whether this little road is really necessary, because it's kind of just restricted for buses, and there's like another road in front of the train station where drop-offs could occur. And later in this section we build a big bus stop. Anyway, here I'm making a little entrance to a surface parking lot. My thoughts were like, I guess people going out of town could park here, I guess, or maybe it's just for like local parking as well. Could also be demolished and turned into apartment buildings, so it's a much better use of the land, since it's like right close to the train station, and obviously there's a lot of public transport connections, and it's quite close to the downtown, so it would be quite a valuable piece of land. And currently it's just a surface parking lot, which is not the best use it could be. But anyway, I left a little gap there for a little walkway down from that parking lot that then goes down, and people can walk across to the train station. And here I was just putting in the walls and things. But yeah, and then we're going to move on to building a bus stop on the other side with a lot of platforms. It requires a little bit of imagination as well. I think we're going to move on to that around now, or not quite. Still building this little ramp with a surface. And oh yeah, that's pavement versus asphalt. I almost thought that was gravel before just because of the change in textures, but it's pavement. And yeah, now we're working on this bus stop. I was not really basing this off anything, but kind of wanted to build like a bus interchange near the train station, because that sort of makes sense. I can't remember if at this time someone in the community, I think it was Alataga's, made the Christchurch bus interchange, but I can't remember whether it was that was released at the point at which I built this thing, this bus interchange. But anyway, I found that that wouldn't really fit into my city that well, and this kind of fits in a way. I mean, I made it to fit, and I'm just putting bus lanes along the main road so that buses get like an easy route through here, and there'll probably also be stops on this road just to add a few more like platforms, I guess, and then one lane of general traffic in each direction. So the main focus of this next part of the episode is to extend the train line from this station out to the main train line that runs sort of to the north of the city centre and separates sort of the northern half of the city. And here you can see me trying to merge down the 8 train platforms that we have into less tracks and creating a whole lot of switches and things in between them so that the trains can change onto different tracks and go where they need to go, and there'd be a few options. If one train got like stuck in a platform or something, then the trains could use other platforms. That's more like a real life thing than a City Skylines functionality thing, but nonetheless it's somewhat realistic. And this took me quite a while as there's a lot of things going on, and I think I had about like 3 or 4 attempts at trying to turn basically the 8 train tracks for the platforms into like 4 and have them just go all sorts of places. Anyway, I'm kind of happy with this layout. I mean, it still looks a bit awkward because it doesn't make much sense to actually have a terminus station in this type of city anyway. It'd make more sense to have a through station, but the main reason was I really didn't want to destroy that construction site opposite the train station that I'd spent so much time on. And I also wanted to have a train station near the center of the city. And as you can see here now, I'm just making the curves that connect the train line that we just built into the main line. And that's basically it for the train tracks. And now we're moving over to make like a loading dock. My thinking is that this throws for like a small supermarket, as there's a small metro supermarket in the Wellington train station. I was kind of going for that same idea and noticed that there was this loading dock, which I would assume serves the purpose for the supermarket loading at Wellington train station. So I was trying to recreate something here, and then just using some props and things to make like an awning over the door, which is also just like a procedural object or prop or something or other. Anyway, let me know how you think this build has come out down in the comments. And another thing I wanted to mention was that I'm gonna change my frequency of uploads a bit. I mean, both in reference to the like year-long break that I took, but also in reference to the fact that I was sort of uploading somewhat sporadically and a little bit weekly and a bit here and there. I'm gonna try and from now on, I think I'll stick to like uploading say like 5 episodes in a row weekly, and then just sort of like take a break after that because it takes me longer than a week to put together an episode. And I kind of go through phases where I'm like interested in playing City Skylines and not interested, and I don't want to like force myself to play the game just for the sake of pumping out a video if I'm not enjoying it, because this is just a hobby of mine at the end of the day. But yeah, it'll be something that people should be aware of, so don't like expect ongoing weekly uploads, but at least expect them for the next few weeks at least, because I've actually already recorded up to episode 25 at the time of recording this commentary for a time-lapse that I recorded a year ago. Anyway, if you want to stay ahead of the game in terms of seeing my videos, you could consider becoming a patron. That's an option that I'm offering at the moment. And yeah, we're almost at the end of the episode. So just placing down a few trees here and there And then working on some time traffic lights briefly. I don't usually show these because usually I do some really complicated stuff and spend way too long fiddling with the numbers and things and like setting up all the settings. I don't even know what I'm doing here because it looks like my screen is frozen. Oh no, I am changing the numbers slowly. It's just hard to watch and probably not all that interesting. And here's the final lot of cinematics. Now, some of the shots aren't all that exciting because there's not much in the background since I deleted a whole lot of stuff, but hopefully that'll look better over time. So that's it for this episode, and next week we're going to be working on an underground train station that forms part of the current train station complex that we're building today. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in next week's episode.